Hey, welcome back to another episode of Overrated. Today we're going to be talking about Assassin's Creed, which is a game we both really enjoy and that actually inspired us to get into the competitive world of assassinating. It's not true.
The game has an 81 on Metacritic. To determine whether or not Assassin's Creed is overrated, we're going to rate the story, characters, music, visuals, and gameplay from worst to best, and then give it an overall rating at the end.
Here we go. Just because it's in last place doesn't mean that the music is bad, not at all. Jesper Kyd gave her the old college try by lumping the sounds of science fiction with the exotic quarter tones and Phrygian dominance scales that naturally attend the game's setting. But while in musical theory the soundtrack kills it, assassination joke. It's suspiciously left out of the party, like the other parts of the game bullied it into bad self-esteem and it's afraid to fully be and love itself.
A good chunk of the 40-minute OST is made up of that echoey ambient kind of stuff, which does an amazing job of establishing the atmosphere of Assassin's Creed, but it's like it forgot music can do more than that. Music can help scenes and characters and locations be more memorable through motif and melody, but the game's soundtrack stays in the background and makes some of the heavier moments of storytelling fall a little flatter than they could have been. I often found myself thinking, oh man, this scenario could really use a piece of beautiful music to complement it.
No, you didn't. No one says things like that. Again, the music isn't bad. Misused is maybe the better word here. Reading Kyd's commentary on his score makes it all sound so well planned out that it makes me think that his ideas weren't implemented into the final package in all the right ways. Because looking at his body of work, it proves that he's a great composer. It just feels like 11 tracks aren't quite enough to do the massive scope of the game justice. It's something they must have noticed because they make significant strides to have the music make a bigger appearance in the next games in the series and let Jesper work some real magic. We give the music 14 points out of 20.
In fourth place are the characters. Each of them is a walking embodiment of different themes in the game, and they pull it off pretty well. In fact, they represent their respective themes maybe a little too well, because they start to feel more like storytelling devices rather than actual people. But what they each mean is important, and that's the best thing a character could ever hope to be. Altair's progression is intriguing and thought-provoking. At first he lives in a world of absolutes, but as he carries out his 9 high-profile assassinations, his beliefs are shaken, and a little more gray view of the world is passed down for generations to his descendant, the unassuming bartender Desmond Miles.
The 9 targets end up being memorable, but more because of what they mean to the story than for who they actually are. They're only around for a couple of minutes at most, but the effect their parting messages have on Altair as they lie dying in his arms span the entire game.
What is it, Captain? I want you to put the sauna and dance around for me. I'm not gonna do that! Okay, it was worth a shot, listen.
And that's how it is for most of the characters in Assassin's Creed. Instead of having a life of their own, they become more like thematic chess pieces and lose that good old human feeling.
Am I real?
The situation Desmond's in is super interesting, so it's weird that we never hear what he thinks about what's happening to him, only his complaining that it is. It's like you're being sent to the past and living the memories of your master assassin ancestor that are stored in your DNA. Is that not the most exciting and terrifying and unbelievable thing ever? And he comes off as stiff and unrelatable because of how alien his reaction is.
The game is all about Altair's growth, so it makes sense that the others were left out of the development loop. But the few who did get any development were more caricatures than anything, like the Doctor, who shoots cartoonishly villainous lines at Desmond straight from his hip.
Remembered by some of us, anyway.
Yeah, real subtle, Doc. They get 14.5 points, but we can't overstate how important they are to the story, even if they themselves aren't all amazing.
In third place is gameplay.
Wandering quietly through history's cities and countrysides puts your mind in a nice place. It's like a mix between the Uncharted games and Shadow of the Colossus. Assassin's Creed combines the feeling of the two in a comfortable way. You have to be slow, precise, and calculating to get things done right, which gives you and Altair time to reflect on what's happening to him. Yeah, it's repetitive, but that doesn't mean it isn't fun. Only less fun than it could have been.
The combat's kinda clunky, but it works. It's more than just hitting buttons, there's a kind of rhythm you have to fall into to make it work. You're rewarded with particularly vicious animations when you do it right. And what more motivation do you need than to be able to kill people even harder? We had a ton of fun playing, but it does feel like it's 1 or 2 gameplay mechanics away from being a top-tier title. You'd think stealth would be at the top of the list of attributes an assassin should possess, but it doesn't really factor into the game that much. You just kinda slowly approach your target and stab them and then run away and find a pile of hay to hide in. Nothing says stealth like fighting 10 guards in the middle of the city streets. There are scripted events where you're forced to slaughter dozens of people all willy-nilly like in front of bystanders, which feels kinda weird in a game where the main character is questioning whether killing the people he's sent to kill is really the right thing to do. Like the side quest of killing 100 Templars all of a sudden seems a little bit offbeat. But it's still pretty fun. What's also fun is navigating the huge cities through the streets and over the rooftops. Every building is scalable and every object is interactive, and you can pull off some pretty sweet moves to get from point A to point B.
There just isn't enough variety in the gameplay to call it great, which is why it starts to get repetitive. Some of the obstacles seem to test my patience more than my abilities too. Like the invalids, who have a weird fixation on Altair and shove only him while the other citizens casually stroll around without so much as an incoherent grunt mumbled in their direction. Anyways, the final score for gameplay is 15 points.
The two remaining parts of the game are both super solid, so it was tough to choose what would come in at second place. It's like, how do you choose between Michael Jackson and Michael Jordan? It was hard to choose is what we're getting at. Most readily apparent is the fact that it's a beautiful game and still visually striking 9 years after it first came out.
What's less apparent is the way the game plays with color. The opening scene has Desmond waking up in the present day in an overwhelmingly dull and gray room, and then we travel back in time to see Altair's white robes surrounded by black shadows. You probably see where this is going, don't you? In the beginning, Altair sees his world in binary. He knows what's right and what to do to those who are wrong. Desmond's world isn't so black and white though. Get it?
Don't.
Black and white make gray.
Oh baby, good one. But after each assassination mission you're sent back to the present day to sit secluded with Desmond in a silent grey room with nothing to do but think. Altair's vision slowly changes throughout the course of the game, his past beliefs dashed all over the proverbial rocks, until in the final memory block Altair finds his own world, once filled with lush color, now completely grayscaled out. Coincidence? I think not. In the final confrontation, when his illusion of the world is completely shattered, the colors start to go all kinds of crazy, almost as if he were looking at the film negatives of the world he thought he once knew. Well done, game. The order of the world that Altair had been working towards the whole game is completely thrown out of whack.
Beyond all that stuff though, is a really nice looking game. All the details from the huge cities down to Altair's intimidating stock are spot on. The world looks a little hazy and ethereal, like this is happening in almost a dreamlike reality, or that illusion that everyone keeps referring to. It's a cool way to blend realism and symbolism, which are two aesthetics that don't always work well together. Overall though, we think really highly of what this game does visually, and give it an 18 out of 20.
Through any of its imperfections, the story of Assassin's Creed is one that I won't ever forget. I'm like an elephant when it comes to the story, I guess you could say. Like a huge elephant. The plot resonates so well because underneath all the cool science fiction-y plot building devices, it stays true to the foundations of good storytelling. At the crux is the question of what we would be willing to do for peace. Altair's master states that in much wisdom is much grief. Is living in an illusion preferable to a life in the middle of a troubled and violent reality? Or should we destroy that peaceful illusion? Would we even be able to make ourselves destroy it if given the opportunity? I don't know. I don't think any of us really know. David, you?
No.
See?
Desmond's travels back to the past are made possible through the use of the Animus, which helps you relive the memories of your ancestors that have been stored in your DNA. But as cool and crazy as the idea could get, it never detracts from the simple foundations of the story. The Animus works only as a unique means to an end, explaining why we have to progress the way we do through the game, a nifty level select process, and an original narrative technique. It's just a great way to craft a story.
And it's immediately interesting. As a huge fan of JRPGs, I'm used to games taking like 80 hours to really start moving, but Assassin's Creed is instantly gripping. It lays a bunch of crazy but digestible information on you right from the start, and then we're off to the races. Exploring generations of conflict between Templars and Assassins, family ties, religious and theocratic legacy, and morality is great. The game doesn't shove endless cutscenes or text box through your screen either. It's packaged up nice and tight and lets you read between all the lines that aren't necessary and put together the story for yourself. It does kind of leave some interesting stuff not fully explored though, which come into play more in the next games, but I wish we would have had a bit more of it in this one. A couple more scenes of serious contemplation and conversation, especially with Desmond and his side of things, would really have helped fill in all the small gaps. All the bases are covered, but sometimes with too thin a layer of storytelling.
Altair is a great character to carry the plot forward. His change is meaningful and the implications are heavy, and his story is one that might make you take a small look at yourself to see if you're where you want to be as a person. It's worth taking inventory of your own thoughts and beliefs. It's one of those games that transcends the medium and becomes a little more real than we're used to games being. We give the story 18.5 points. It ends on what can only be seen as the setup for another game to continue the story, so it lacks a certain sense of closure. If you're planning on getting into it, know that playing just the first might not satisfy you all the way.
The first Assassin's Creed is a little rough around the edges, but there's a reason it kickstarted one of the most enduring series of the past decade. You can see little diamonds in the rough shining through in every part of the game, waiting to be polished up in the later titles. Our score of 80 is within 3 points of Metacritic's 81, so we have to say that it's rated just about right.
Regardless of what you think about what the franchise has turned into lately, it's hard to deny what the game has meant since coming out nearly 10 years ago. We review games we love and want to take another look at, and Assassin's Creed is no exception. Looking at it closer has only helped us appreciate it that much more, and we think it has a lot to offer anyone who wants to give it another try. Or a first try.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for watching. Tell us how you would rank the different parts of the game or the game overall. We'd like to know. Here's some other stuff that we've done that you can check out too. You might like it. And as always, feel free to suggest games you think that we should review in the future. See you next time.